My name is Ethan Miller. Many years ago, I was nothing more than a simple laborer in a construction company in Chicago. My life was built on sweat, bricks, and hope. Every morning before sunrise, I left my tiny rented apartment carrying nothing but an old lunchbox my wife packed with love. I believed that if I worked hard, kept my head down, and stayed loyal, I would be rewarded. But the world doesn't always reward honesty. Sometimes it crushes it. I worked for months at that construction site. Day after day, I carried bricks on my shoulders, mixed cement with blistered hands, and worked under the burning sun with dust choking my lungs. At night, I came home too tired to even eat, but I kept going because I had a wife and two little children who depended on me. After 4 months of non-stop work, it was finally time to collect my salary. 4 months of sweat, blood, and sacrifice. I went to the office of my supervisor, Mr. Thomas, a man who wore fine suits, gold watches, and a permanent smirk on his face. I stood in front of his desk and said, "Sir, I've completed my work. I need my salary. My family's waiting." He leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and with a cold smile said, "Ethan, you'll get your money someday. For now, keep working." I froze. 4 months of labor, and he brushed it aside like it was nothing. I tried to reason with him, told him about my children, about my wife waiting at home, but Thomas didn't care. He laughed in my face and said, "If you don't like it, leave. There are hundreds of men outside who would replace you in a second." That day, I walked out of the office with empty hands and a broken heart. I had nothing. No salary, no justice. I came home to hungry children and a wife who looked at me with worried eyes. I felt like I had failed them. That night, when they all slept, I sat alone in the dark and made a promise to myself. One day, I will rise. One day, I will become so powerful that no one will dare to steal my sweat and blood ever again. And Thomas, you will pay for this. The next years of my life were not easy. I worked wherever I could. Sometimes I cleaned streets, sometimes I carried goods at warehouses, sometimes I painted walls. No job was too small because I had a dream burning inside me. I saved every single dollar, no matter how little it was. While others wasted money on drinks or entertainment, I spent my nights learning. I read books on construction, real estate, and business. I studied finance. I learned how companies worked, how investments grew, how opportunities could be created. My body was tired, but my mind was sharper than ever. Slowly, my life began to change. I started my own small construction service, just me and a few workers. At first, we only repaired broken walls, painted houses, and fixed roofs. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I treated my workers with respect, always paying them on time because I knew what it felt like to be cheated. Years passed. The small service became a company. The company grew into a corporation. Every project we completed added to my reputation. Every deal I signed built my empire higher. And then destiny brought Thomas back into my life. The same construction company where I once worked, the one where Thomas refused to pay me, was now drowning in debt. Their projects failed, their workers left, their reputation collapsed, and they were desperate for investors. This was my moment. I moved fast, I bought their shares, I acquired their assets. Piece by piece, I swallowed the empire that once exploited me. And finally, the day came when the company officially became mine. And then Thomas walked into my office, but this time the roles were reversed. He was no longer the arrogant man in the fine suit. He was broken, desperate, and begging. He stood before me and said, "Ethan, please, I need work. I have nowhere to go." I looked at him for a long time. Memories of my past flashed before my eyes. The hunger of my children, the tears in my wife's eyes, the humiliation I faced. And then I said the words I had been waiting to say for years. "Thomas, years ago, you stole 4 months of my life. You thought I was just another poor laborer. But today, I own everything you built. You're finished here." His face turned pale. He begged for mercy, but I turned away because this wasn't just revenge. This was justice. And I didn't stop there. I revealed to the world the corruption he had hidden for years, the bribes, the stolen money, the lies. The world saw the truth. The man who once laughed at me lost everything. His name turned into dust. People ask me now if I feel guilty. My answer is simple. No. Because I didn't rise by cheating anyone. I rose by working harder than everyone else, by sacrificing, by learning, and by never giving up. Today, I stand as the owner of one of the biggest construction empires in the country. My workers are paid fairly, respected, and treated with dignity. Because I know their struggle. It once was mine. My name is Ethan Miller, and this is the story of how a poor laborer, robbed of his wages, rose from nothing to become an empire owner. And to anyone out there suffering injustice, I say this: don't waste your life in anger. Use that anger as fuel. Don't beg for revenge. Build yourself so powerful that your success itself becomes the sweetest revenge.